Call to order the Board of Supervisors meeting for Monday, October 21st at 7 p.m. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call to establish a quorum, please. Ms. Clerk, Treasurer.
Supervisor Linda Waite.
Here.
Supervisor Mark Hain.
Here.
Supervisor Jim Nellen.
Here.
Chairman Dan Wolfel.
Here.
Supervisor John Stavenus.
Here.
All right. Next item on our agenda is the meet and greet. We only have a couple of guests, 3 guests actually this evening, so we will let the first gentleman in the first row introduce himself.
Sure. My name is Greg Coulthurst. I work for the Door County Soil and Water Office, and I'm here today to talk about Dunes Lake a little bit later in the meeting, and also to promote our private well sampling program. I brought a couple of flyers here. So we're extending the date to reserve for one of the forum meetings, and our goal is to get at least one well signed up for every section in the county. So.
Okay, we'll circle back to you.
Derek Daniel, resident at 4832 County Road P.
All right, Derek, good to have you. Officer?
Mark Hilsabeck, Door County Sheriff's Department. I am the School Resource Officer for Sevastopol School.
Oh. We asked Mark to join us this evening so that those people know what the School Resource Officer job is. And maybe, Mark, you take a couple minutes now and then you don't have to stay till the end of the meeting. And tell us a little bit about your role and what happens there.
Certainly. Sheriff Tammy Sternard started a program this year where every county school will have a school resource officer. I'm one of 3. Greg Medlin is in Southern Door. Heather Beman is in Gibraltar, and I am in Sevastopol. My role over there, number 1 role is the safety of the students and the staff, keeping the school safe. Other than that, it's a 3-tier program that we are involved with. 1 tier is obviously a law enforcement officer. I'm there to enforce laws. Secondly is a teacher. I am asked to teach some courses, law-related classes. And also the 3rd tier is a mentor. So gain the trust of the kids and let them know that I'm there to help them out. Hopefully they feel comfortable enough they can come and talk to me whenever they want to about anything, whether they know something that might be coming up in the future that's probably not safe. Maybe hopefully they'll come and talk to me so we can avert any problems.
Do you work through all the school events as well? In other words, are you at the football games or whatever extracurricular activity there might be?
My schedule is 5 days a week. I'm at the school, 7:30 to 3:30, and I'm required to work 1 after-school event a week, or 4 a month, or 36 for the year, but 32. So recently I just worked the homecoming game, the football game, and I then also worked the homecoming dance.
Good. And are you replaced on the sheriff's staff when they assign you to the schools? Did they hire 3 other people, and since you're no longer a road warden?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they did. I was replaced by somebody who came out of the jail, went to the road, and then replaced the jail personnel.
Good. Well, do you have any other questions, Mark? Well, thank you. It's nice knowing that we have somebody next door that we can call upon, and thank you for taking the time to join us this evening.
Absolutely. Anytime if you guys need anything, just get a hold of me.
Put this down as a homecoming game, too.
I'm sorry.
Put this down as a homecoming game, too.
Okay.
All right.
And I'd like to thank Linda for trying to stop in and see me a couple times, but I'm not usually in my office. My day consists of walking around the hallways in the school, and also I am outside a lot checking the doors and make sure that they're secured and locked. Somebody's not propping them open.
Good.
I'm hardly in my office, so.
No problem. Thank you again.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Glad we didn't give you a chance to introduce yourself. Do you feel the urge?
No.
Okay. All right. With that, let's adopt the agenda. And Amy, I assume that it was properly noticed?
The agenda was properly noticed.
All right. Motion to adopt would be in order.
I'll move to adopt the agenda for Monday, October 21st, 2019, as noticed.
And I second that motion.
Motion by Linda, second by Jim to approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried, thank you. Approval of minutes from the Board of Supervisors meeting on September 16th. And the special, oh no, excuse me, just that. I started reading too far ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the Board of Supervisors meeting for Monday, September 16th, 2019.
Second. Motion by John, second by Mark to approve the minutes of Board of Supervisors meeting from September 16th. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No one's opposed. Motion carries. All right. We're actually 6-7 minutes ahead, which probably makes Greg happy, but we have Greg Coulthurst with Door County Soil and Water. And Greg offered to come in and talk to us a little bit about what's been happening or what is going to happen down at Dunes Lake with some funding that the county received to do some additional work. So Greg, I'll let you have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening. Yeah, probably the biggest news is that Ducks Unlimited received a grant from Sustain Our Great Lakes, about $703,000. So that put us over the top, so to speak, to put out a bid documents and engineered plans for dredging next summer, which could begin as early as July 1st, but it's going to depend on permits and the weather, of course. But we have about, and I say we, between Ducks Unlimited and the Conservation Department, we have about $1.1 million secured in some grant funding right now and donations. So our estimate to complete was about $1.2 million. And we do have some other granting authorities that would pledge additional monies if the bids come in to the point where we need a few bucks. So right now we're about 100,000 short, but it doesn't look like that's going to be difficult to obtain if we get a good bid. In preparation of this dredging activity, we did spray some cattails about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, some invasive narrowleaf cattails in areas that have filled in with sediments and have since grown cattails, and also some areas where we want to restore the natural path. We wanted to spray them so that they start decaying, but not that they're to the point where water is just going to rush out while we're dredging. We want to maintain some of those cattails for as a silk curtain, green silk curtain, so to speak. So connectivity is going to be at the end of the dredging portion next summer. And right now we're working, like I said, on the bid documents, the permits, the natural resources historical and environmental review has been done by the feds. So that looks good. But we still need an Army Corps permit, a Chapter 30 permit, a stormwater permit, and a county land disturbance permit. So those are all in the works. And like I said, hopefully we can start somewhere after July next year.
Okay.
Aside from that, I think we had 4 tours down there this last year. Some of the people that are granting us money or have granted us money in the past. I was part of the Water Summit, of course, too, but had some good trips back there. And if any of you want to go back there to see kind of what we're doing before we do it, I'd invite you, if you want to do a personal canoe trip or if you want to do a group, happy to take you back there.
Okay. You should know that in my conversations with Greg, one of my concerns, or maybe it's an opportunity, is I believe once that the lake has been dredged, there will be a significant increase in the number of people using that body, especially in the area duck hunters. Mm-hmm. And so we may be having to circle back and figure out some way to deal with public parking, because that is a problem on weekends this time of year. And I think once the lake is freed up, I'll probably want to be one of those people causing that problem. So we may need to circle back on that area down there. And as you know, we we made a lot of investments down there.
Sure,
So.
sure. And it's a nice remote paddle. You know,
Right.
and I've had some people comment, I like the small parking lot because then it's not going to be overcrowded back there. And you can go either way with it. But it's, to me, when I explain it to people that haven't been back there, and if they've been to the boundary waters, I compare the two. So it's a nice remote paddle, one of those kind of enjoyable type places to go back to.
And is there, I'm just thinking ahead again, is there any way that you could see where we'd be able to put some kind of, or will be asked to put some kind of ramp in there? Where we would be able to do anything on either side there?
You're going to have to fight the battle with the DNR, with the wetlands. so it's all wetlands around there. So I know when we
Right.
did the parking lot, when I approached you folks for that, it was the first upland area where you could do any kind of filling.
Right.
So that's the challenge you would have. So I don't see how you're gonna get a ramp in there, a boat ramp.
I wasn't thinking so much of, it's a misleading statement, I wasn't thinking so much of it as a boat launching ramp as maybe a trough, so to speak, something that you could drag a boat through without going down the bank into the,
Yeah, we've done some kayak accessibility launches.
that kind of thing.
And that might have a better chance, you know,
Okay.
where you sit on them and then you can kind of scoot out and not have to worry about tipping over at the
Yeah.
access point, yeah. That's
Okay.
something we definitely look into if you're
All right.
interested.
all right, well, that was one of my thoughts. Does the board have any other questions of Greg?
Is there adequate depth in that creek year-round to access the lake,
The creek, yes.
pretty much?
Yes, I have, out of all the years that I've gone back there now, I've never had an issue getting through the creek. It's at the mouth of the lake. There is a gauge at the bridge, and I can't remember what value it is off the top of my head, but if it gets below that value, at the mouth, you'll have a really tough time paddling through it, the muck. This year, it's been a different story, where we approached it once, but then the water levels went way up. I've never seen the water levels that high before. Some of the cattail islands that are out there have been actually plugging up some of the channels that were out there in the past, so it's been kind of a challenge to get to that west bay that's a little more pristine. But I have been hand cutting some of those cattails so that we can get groups back there to see what it should look like. So I've been maintaining that too.
Okay. Anyone else?
Is the only way in through watercraft?
Yeah, it's all private around there.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can come up from Shivering Sands, but if you
Well,
walk the
yeah.
channel, you know,
okay.
some private, but you're not gonna take a boat up that. There's a lot of deadfalls in there and it's a pretty steep gradient.
Shivering Sands crosses Glidden Drive.
Yeah, I know.
And that'd be a rough cut, but yeah, you're right, you could get in there. In the wintertime, Carl Schultz has taken people back in there on the Dorland Preserve hunting. He had gotten access, I don't know if he does anymore, but he had gotten access. Laddie, do you know that?
Well, I have seen Carl back there sometimes, but in the winter, dead of winter, you can walk from Glidden Drive all the way up to Haverly Road on the ice. There's only one little tiny spot where there's kind of a falls, you go around it, and then you walk around all the way. It's a 15-mile walk, but I've done it.
Oh, okay. Maybe you'll lead us on one after a town meeting in
I'll have to
January.
have another new hit.
All right. All right, thank you, Greg, appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
What about the well?
Did you want to say something about the well
Oh,
testing?
sorry, you wanted to talk about the well testing. Thank
Yeah,
you.
just that, there was an RSVP by October 18th, but they're extending that date. So, and the RSVP is to sign up for one of the two forums on November 4th at the Town of Gibraltar Fire Department from 6 to 8, and November 6th, 6 to 8 at Crossroads. So that's where, if you've signed up, and I can't remember how they're gonna do this exactly, but they're gonna select at least one property owner in each section. So if there's multiple landowners in each section, one will get selected, the other ones can still participate at the full price. Otherwise, it's like a $25 discount on the sampling. And I think it's for total coliform and E. coli and for nitrates. So the idea is that we get a across the county picture of water quality for nitrates and bacteria. So again, there's some information here if you haven't signed up yet, or if you have somebody that wants to sign up, please do. And we're hoping to continue that program if we get additional funding.
Okay.
You're talking you said sections? How big are the sections?
Square mile.
640
Huh?
A
acres.
square mile, so like in your
Oh.
township, you have 36 sections.
Okay.
So we'd like to get at least,
I see.
of course, your township's bigger, but,
Right,
or town's bigger, but,
okay.
so I'll leave these here if anybody's interested, and then, of course, call the office if you have questions too.
Okay, sure.
What is the total cost, Greg? And are we doing a central collection area? The last time we did this, people dropped off samples here at the town hall? Or will individuals need to take their samples to a central location at the government center or whatever?
Yeah, I'm looking for the answer for that right now because I don't know. I think they're gonna discuss that at the forum
Okay.
as to where it's gonna be, but yeah, normally cost for these two is $45, and there's some others, sometimes they put some other tests in there that are minimal, but if you're chosen, it's $20, so. But again, it's not a bad idea to test your well every spring and every fall during recharge events, just to see where you're at, especially with how fast groundwater moves in this county. And Erin asked me to just touch on it because she's at the town of Forestville tonight, so otherwise she would've been here.
Oh, they're gonna test the mill pond? Just kidding. Okay. All right, thanks again.
Yep, thank you, guys.
Thank you, Glenn.
Road work update. All of the town roads have been paved, including the leftover West Shore Drive. And I was out checking the roads Saturday, I think it was, yeah, Saturday afternoon, and discovered that they had not completed Sylvan View. So the piece that was all busted up, and I sent them a note, and I met with them this morning, and they're coming back out this year to redo that. Somebody just blew it, that's the gist of it. So it will get redone. I also have a culvert that's gonna be replaced that was crushed on the southern end of Bark Road. They're gonna do that yet this fall. I was thinking for next year, because later on we're gonna talk about our meeting schedule, but I was thinking, Linda, as long as you acted as an interface, let Brandon know we'll use them again next year. And we'll just use the same process for our road tour. We'll pick off the ones that are 4s and 5s and spend our time concentrating on that. So I think that's an easy to do. So, and shouldering is not done. They're still waiting. There's supposed to be a crew up here doing it. He thought it was gonna be done last week, but they didn't get to it, so.
Are we gonna get our striping accomplished before winter? That really helps when
We
snow
think-
is on the,
Amy followed up this morning on that, and Kiwani does our striping and thinks they're gonna get it done, right?
They believe they're gonna get it done. You want Peterson Road done? Which other one? Was there any
We
additional
don't
roads?
do Clark. There's
Peterson
nothing.
for sure.
West Shore Drive, that's not striped at all.
No, West Shore isn't striped, and I don't think Clark Lake is either. I don't think Clark Lake is striped.
Don't think Peterson has any striping on it.
No, we
Even
talked
the
about-
portion we did
Correct.
last year.
So they're gonna do the whole thing.
Great.
Yeah, and for some reason, I dropped the ball there because I forgot the county quit doing their own painting. So, and they didn't pick up on it, and then, of course, Northeast Asphalt doesn't talk to the county, so it's a nice circle.
Well, my sons really love the new Peterson Road, just so everybody knows. Every time we turn on it, oh, I love this new road.
Well, it's good.
Just a report from the Hain
And
family.
I think your wife said she wanted to move you to Gordon Road or something,
Yeah.
just so you get a crummier road. Okay, gotcha.
I had compliments on it too from other than the Hain family.
Well, that's good. All right, Muscat property update. A number of things have happened there in the last, including today. Since our last meeting, I met with our town attorney, and he recommended that we pursue the option asking for the liability letter, so we in turn submitted the $700 to the DNR. They have receipt of that. I had a conversation with the people that were going to generate that letter today, and I also talked to Grant Thomas at the county to fill him in terms of what's going on there. They will send us back a document telling us it's okay to proceed, understanding that we're not going to take ownership of the property. We're just going to take down some of the buildings over time. The decision hasn't been reached yet, or a recommendation hasn't been given, I guess, from Randy in terms of whether we send them a letter telling them that we're going to condemn the buildings, or give them a phone call, or a combination of both, to explain what's happening. Concurrent with that, Randy has filed paperwork with the court here in Door County to determine ownership. Now, remember, this was an issue of who really owned it. He has all the paperwork that he needs from the Illinois court, and he has a December 3rd court date set up to
Great.
determine ownership, so we'll communicate that to the DOJ. I also talked to Grant today to explain what we're doing in terms of our intentions with the buildings and with the fuel tank, and I asked him to go back to the county, and Linda, maybe you and Biz can nudge the finance committee. I said it would really be nice if they would come in and kick in a few dollars to help us. 10, 15, 20,000 bucks would be outstanding. So he said he would put it on the agenda. I offered to go to a meeting if they would allow it, or if they think it's beneficial. So if maybe you can put a bug in Biz's ear and whoever else is appropriate to see if we can get a few dollars out of them. And Grant, we also discussed the possibility, I don't know if I shared this or not anymore, in the paperwork that Randy got from the courts, it was determined that Nikki had lost her job. She claimed she had lost her job. She is, I think, 79 years old, and begged for the court's mercy not to have to travel and blah, blah, blah. He thinks there's an outside chance, although they seem to think it's worth $2 to $3 million, which is a little scary. He thinks there's an outside chance that given all the circumstances, they may just say, have it, take at it. And Grant said, depending on what we do, he might help us with that by saying maybe you just want to give it to the county now and walk away completely on that parcel. So he's going to keep us abreast of his thoughts, and as this thing progresses, that might give us another option. And he knows that if it's turned over to the county under a forfeiture or reclaimed through back taxes, the county is then not held liable for anything on that property. So that gets them off the hook as well. And so then we could take some further action on it, or potentially take some action on it. It still requires that we have to go to court after it's condemned and ask the judge and all that good stuff. And you know about that conversation. But it's more progress on this thing than I've seen since I've been on the town board, and there's a chance that maybe something would happen. And we do have money in the budget for, hopefully, to try and get at that project. So, conversation.
Plus the tax roll is gonna be out, and that first payment will be due January 31st, so we'll kind of have an inclination then whether they intend to let it go for the 3 years or pay.
And that's what Grant was saying. He said they have a tendency to wait until it's 2 years out before they show up with anything, so we'll see.
And then it could start all over again.
But this might be, it's tough to say, but at least there's some progress. We'll keep everybody abreast. So if there's no questions, that's everything I can tell you about the Muscat property. The next item of business is the reallocation of room tax dollars. And later in the meeting, we'll talk about how we want to designate tax collections. And just as a refresher, originally the tax collections were dedicated to the building of this facility. So, as you know, we paid off the mortgage, and so we're using the money this year for roads, and our intentions, I think, are to do the same thing next year. And one of the other topics, or one of the other thoughts that we've kicked around at the meeting is to set aside a chunk of cash that would be in a balance that we would maintain year over year, that would take care of all the expenses associated with this building. And we had talked about doing that to the tune of about $50,000, where we would dedicate that money in a set account, and if we had to spend 10 grand to fix the roof or something like that, that money would come out of there. Anything that needs to be done with the building, and then we would replenish it the following year. So we always have those funds. The building's 11 years old, and we know we need some maintenance on some things. So the other thing we had a conversation on, but we haven't decided, and I guess that's really the direction here, is to try and continue to use that money to improve our infrastructure, meaning our roads, our parks, and things that are, that really matter to the townspeople, and, a better investment than just letting it disappear into the general fund. So, does anybody have any comments on that?
I think we already covered it in our previous meetings.
Yeah. I just want to make sure that everybody's on board and knows what we're tracking.
So we're gonna put the $50,000 in the first year for like the building, or we're gonna do?
Well, actually, this
Steps.
year, no, this year, we had a carryover of 14,000, which was a correction. I think Amy sent that all out. So we're gonna fund it with 36,000 of this year, and then whatever comes out of there next year, or if it stays at 50, we won't put any more in, but I think whatever comes out, we'll replenish. And all of that will be in a dedicated fund, not part, we can always move it, but it'll be there so you can look at it and say, where is it, you know, what's there? Okay? All right, new business, the meeting schedule. We sent that out, excuse me, pretty much standard except for one thing. Last year, we attempted to do the annual town meeting and the board meeting on the same night, which we had done in the past. But the last two annual town board meetings have been rather lively, and I think we stressed ourselves. So my recommendation, but I'm open to moving it, is that, you know, we have a meeting 2 nights in a row. One is the board meeting and the other is the annual meeting, and separate the two so we don't get bogged down. And, you know, who knows what'll happen, but that would be my recommendation. So, otherwise, anybody have any potential issues with any particular date? And, you know, if something comes up, we can always move.
Hunting season, the Monday of.
The 23rd. Now, we moved that. We used to go a week earlier, but we moved it back to try and avoid that. No, you're not going to be around?
Possibly this year either.
And we would have the public hearing on the 23rd. And there's a calendar that we have to adhere to there, right, Amy? In terms of the special board meeting or not? No? Oh, it's just the annual meeting that we have the issue with?
Right, the annual meeting has to be the third Tuesday of April.
Okay. All right, well, let's see what happens as we get into next year. Otherwise, we'll put this out, and Amy does have a date on the upper top corner, so we'll know what's happening. All right. Sign ordinance. This is more than anything, just an FYI. It's a fairly convoluted conversation, but the gist of it is that Link Media, which bought Jag Outdoor, and the county had some discussions that they couldn't agree upon relative to changes to their billboards. The net result is, I believe it ended up either in court or a threat of a court date, and the county revised its sign ordinance. And the sign ordinance, for the most part, in the zoned areas of the county has been pretty strong. It limited placement of billboards and signs, and that in conjunction with the Door County Coastal Byways has helped keep the area reasonably billboard free. Well, with the result of these changes, in order to meet the standards that apparently are out there for both the government, federal government and state, the billboard signage is going to be relaxed significantly. And the net result is that in our commercial, what we'll call our commercial corridor down by Coulthurst, we're going to find 3 or maybe more electronic billboards back to back on the highway. There already are 3 planned for near the purple building, the metal building just up the road from Culver's. And I think there's also a possibility of one on the opposite side. And we're unsure at this juncture. I have talked to Nancy,
Schwank.
Linda. Shank, thank you. I just talked to her tonight too. Sorry, Nancy. The Shanks are opposed and have not signed any contracts to put any on their property. But they also sold a parcel with the Chalet Motel, and the fellow that bought that appears to be not interested at this juncture, but we don't know if that'll continue out over time. But the gist of it is these are big billboards, just like out in Nassauwappie, you know, high up and wide and lit and you know, et cetera, et cetera. So I suspect at some point in time we'll start to get some static back from people relative to that. It's important that, you know, it's the same conversation we had at the comprehensive plan meeting elsewhere. We're under county zoning, we don't have an option, et cetera, et cetera. And I think The Coastal Byways is attempting to strengthen their position by applying for federal status, right?
Correct.
Because obviously, it's one thing to put it in that little strip, you know, right by Culver's. It would be another disaster to have it plastered all over Egg Harbor, Bailey's, and everywhere throughout the county. I did talk to the owner of Culver's. It was not negotiable with them. They're staying with it. They want to use the billboards for themselves. They'll have an ad running up there. I talked to Wisconsin Towns Association to see if there was any leverage at all in a town in terms of our being able to do a tax incentive to somebody and say, look, don't put the sign up. They get paid very little money relative to what they get for what they collect. But we have no flexibility with that. Anything that we do would be against the law, essentially. So we have no options. I mean, if somebody decides they want to do it, we're stuck looking at them. So I think that's about everything I know at the moment. I think Linda's going to talk to Mariah a little bit more, and if there's something of value, you can bring it back next month.
Right, there was a meeting on suggested amendments to the text regarding signage. Last Thursday, October 17th, I was unable to make that meeting. I did talk to Mariah, and she offered to meet with me this coming week or next week to discuss what happened before the RPC. And also remember that stretch is not part of the Coastal Byway. The Coastal Byway does not start until the Mill intersection. And with the 10-year renewal coming up, would we possibly want to think about adding that stretch? It wasn't included in the original application because there was too much signage already. And when you have lots of signs, it's negative points as far as the DOT rating goes. So
I think that's going to be ghastly. I can just imagine how people are going to react. And I understand that the chair, and I accept that we are essentially foreclosed from doing anything ourselves. Do you think that we might get some relief through by amending the form of participation we have in the Bi-Coastal Highway Program?
like I said, that initial application, there were too many negative points because they base it on signage and scenery, and of course we have the Muscat property that didn't help a whole lot either, so.
What comes around and goes around, and well.
If you want, I can at least bring it up at
Well, I
our
mean,
next
if-
coastal byway meeting, at least
mean-
mention it to the chair of the council.
I'm sure that we
And
would
see.
find some litigation because they've got signed contracts. They've turned them into the county, and you
And-
saw them.
Right, this would be after the fact anyway.
But, you know, maybe, it's worthwhile, because at this point, the chalet owner has not optioned, and neither has the Schranks. And, maybe we keep them to one side of the road, but I don't see that. I was over there the other day, and I saw a guy with an electrical truck, and he drove a stake in the ground. So I think they're getting closer than we'd like to think, so.
Is this going to happen throughout the state?
I-
Or have we been?
I think Door County has been isolated pretty well with the zoning to prevent that, the billboards. The only place that we had them to speak of is in Nassau. And, because the county, and of course Nassau's unzoned. So I think we were in pretty good shape, but there were so many issues apparently about freedom of speech and all kinds of other things that they weren't gonna go. I think they determined they were not gonna fight it. I think Grant made the decision not to. And so as a result, they modified all of the text, and I don't know if it was accepted at face value or
I don't know
not.
either.
So,
But I think, they would want to stick to that 4257 corridor. There aren't a whole lot of large signs once you get past the split, because obviously some people are going to be sticking to 42, some to 57. So they're going to concentrate on that joint corridor before the split, I would guess.
I mean, there's big money here. I was told one of the quotes was $2,500 a month for a 4-second flash. No, that's 12 flashes. That's 12 flashes of different vendors. right? That's, that's a lot of money a month. We'll pay for those signs pretty quickly. So, but the sign, the owner of the sign, the rental fee to the owner of the land is minimal. In fact, they try to get the landowner to actually sell them the piece, but they do a 20-year auto renewal of their lease. So once you get into it, they're gonna be here till Lady Bird Johnson comes back for round 2, So, anybody comes up with an idea, please feel free to share it. And Linda, if you run it by, it can't hurt. It cannot hurt. All right, I gotta catch up here. All right, the next one is a little bit of an FYI with some discussion in terms of what you think we'd like to do. Whitefish Bay Boat Launch, there was a lot to the south, a vacant piece of land that was purchased in April, purchased by Dave Donnie. It adjoins his property, which is the property to the south of that. I think the lot's approximately 126 feet. Dave purchased it. He had a survey done. And I can't even remember how this came about anymore, but at some point in time, there was a discussion with the county about setbacks. And the county went out there and, through its records from prior surveys, determined that there was a road going, in the original deed, there was a road going from Bark Road, an extension of Whitefish Bay Road, down to the water. And since that parcel was now adjacent to a town road, the setback requirements changed from 10 feet to 35 feet. And so as a result of that, Mr. Donnie came to us, and after discussions with Jeff Cuso at the county and with Grant Thomas at the county, and asked us to vacate our right-of-way so that he could then have his property revert to a 10-foot setback. Dave met with all of the parties. I met with all of the parties. We met with Dave here. Really, the recommendation in terms of how to handle this, I talked to Randy about it. I gave him all the surveys. I gave him all the background. And he talked with Grant, who had a conversation with Mr. Donnie. And what you see in your packet is Randy's response, which is essentially a recommendation to the town to not vacate our right-of-way, because in vacating the right-of-way, the property then reverts back to the owner, and in fact would pick up 35 feet from the town, which would cause some heartburn with the DNR, because the DNR does not like the fact that anybody gives up water access. And so basically, Randy's words, I believe, is that the issue here really revolves around the county and himself in terms of determining the status of this being something other than a town road. But if you go through the different documents and you reread this thing here, you'll find that the town road has in fact appeared back even into the original deed from the Tipplers when it was sold or given to the town. So the options for Mr. Donnie would be, if we were to deny this, would be for him to go back and seek relief from the realtor and or the surveyor, and he would have to adjust his property build from a 10-foot to a 35-foot setback on a 126-foot wide lot. So I think I will ask you if you have any questions, because it was a mouthful.
So the road is right up against that edge, right?
Correct.
Do we have a look at the map here?
Yep.
So even the fence that we have put up down there with the rope, that's still on town property?
Correct.
Where exactly is the line there?
If you were to walk down there, you will see a row of pins that are set back in about 10 yards.
Into the woods.
Into the woods. Yeah, there are set, we had the lot surveyed just to ascertain where we were, because there was concern about the underwater, not underwater, but the drain pipe that's underground.
Yeah.
But there is a set of stakes in there. We're probably, from that telephone pole, it's probably the easiest one you'll just see on the other side, but it's probably still another 10 or 15 feet in from the telephone pole, or the light pole.
Oh, wow.
So-
And then 35-foot setback.
And then a 35-foot, so he starts with 126 feet, I believe, and then he has a 35-foot setback from one side, 10 from the other, in terms of what's up. And he was left with the impression that basically it was my call, just come back, stop over here, and away we go. So the only thing that threw me a little bit of Brandy's letter, and when I talked to him, was just his final paragraph where he says, I would encourage the town clerk to assist in any matter to assist Dave Donnie in obtaining sufficient information to establish the adjacent land is not a road right-of-way. I don't know how Amy or us or anyone could do that, because it's in the deed, it's on the surveys. The fact that it was not on one survey was just an error on the surveyor not to have included it. So I guess I need your feedback in terms of where to go with this, so I can get back to Mr. Donnie and tell him what the town's position is.
The only question I have, usually when you buy a parcel, this description includes a reference to an easement.
Reference to an easement.
Right, like if I
Okay.
bought a lot, it would say, except the 33 feet of the westerly edge is reserved for
Oh,
town right-of-way or town road right-of-way or private road right-of-way. And so I was wondering why his description doesn't say that.
is that, there's so many documents. Which one are you looking at? Is that the
I'm
survey?
looking at the recent survey from 2018.
The one that was done in like April or
Yep,
something?
well, October of
October.
2018.
The one that
The one
we've had
included in the
done.
packet.
Okay.
I don't see that on here. Like I said, it usually says, except the 33 feet thereof are reserved for right-of-way.
Oh, and that's,
Right, nor the survey of 1984, it talks about riparian rights. But again, it didn't say anything about reserve for right-of-way. That was my only question.
there is,
How did he miss it? There's a survey, the survey takes precedence, and the survey's on file, regardless of what the legal description is. I mean, the survey should show the existence of the right-of-way, and presumably it does. Well, let me ask an initial question. If the town denies, holds its ground, is he unable to use the property for the purpose for which he bought it?
he would not be able to build as close to the town park as he might like.
Okay.
So the building envelope goes from 126, take off 35 feet, and, well, he's left with, what, 90-some feet of buildable area.
And did someone miss it in his, when did he acquire the property then?
April of this year,
Okay.
so.
And, I mean, is there a survey out there that he relied upon that didn't show the existence of the right-of-way?
The survey
Because it
that-
wasn't clear.
Right, the survey that he, and we're actually missing a survey in here, but the survey he had did not show the road right away, but earlier surveys and the deed did. And in the county, when he started off with this problem, he went to meet with Jeff, and Jeff showed him the documentation that said the road goes from Bark down to the water, and he also showed him two earlier surveys that Amy and I have seen that show the road on it. And then he came back and met with Grant because he wasn't happy with the resolution. Grant had already met with Holly Hanson from Real Property and Jeff, and had ascertained that Jeff's take on it was correct. And when I talked to Grant, the only solution that he offered was that we would vacate the right-of-way as the only fix to his problem. And when I met with Dave, I told him that that was not my call to begin with. It was the board's call. And then his response, because he was not going to do anything with it immediately anyhow, it's really for his heirs, that he would then seek relief from the surveyor, the realtor, or whomever, because he felt that he paid for 126 feet and he's not getting the full use of that property. And that's when you see the note from Randy, and he said the issue here really revolves between the county, which is our zoning agent, and Dave, in terms of trying to come up with a solution that doesn't result in giving up the right-of-way.
He could always bring a quiet title action too, I suppose, if he wanted to. I mean, in addition to looking for damages for presumably the failure to pick this up
Yeah.
in the documents at the time he acquired the property, I suppose he could bring an action claiming that, well, asking the court to determine that the title is properly, in the right-of-way, properly vests in him. But it appears as though, as you've got earlier surveys, that belies that point. And as I understand it, he's still able to use the property. It's just that he doesn't have all of the, he doesn't quite have the latitude to build on that he wished.
And I think the other thing that we found in here was that I think one of the surveys that are in there was done, Leo had asked for the survey, and I think it was done in conjunction with the soil testing or...
When we were working on the launch
Right. When we were,
area.
yes, when we had worked with
Right.
this company out of Green Bay to try and see what was possible for water launch. And Leo had that surveyed, and so the roadway did not show up on there because I think their focus was to determine lot lines so they could do the thing. Because Dave came back right after this all came up and said, well, your pier's on my property. So I went back to Baldwin and they said, no, there's a formula convoluted as it is, and no, it's not. So, he was not
But
happy.
is it really our call? It sounds like that the DNR has to be involved too.
Well, it's not.
And you know what they're gonna say? No.
Right,
Basically, that's what Randy's letter tells us.
Right.
yeah. I mean,
So they're not gonna give up any way to get to the water. Well, they're not giving up the way, but they're,
Why would we?
I mean, it's our call
Yeah.
to say, do you want to vacate the property or not? And then there's all these other things that have to happen, all these other dominoes have to fall. But, it's our call to say, we're going to do this or not. And then if we say we're not, then it falls back on him and the county and whatever other recourse he wants to take.
Well, the survey from 1984 definitely shows the town road with a 66-foot total right-of-way.
Right.
And the survey made in October for 2018, I assume for any prospective buyer, it's just a survey of the lot. They're not surveying our road, so they're not going to show the road on there. But like I said, usually it's referenced in the description, and it's not, so.
Yeah.
But the original survey definitely shows a road. Do we have to take any action tonight?
I don't know if we have to. I just need to get back to Mr. Donnie and tell him that we're not vacating the road. And at that point, he can pursue whatever avenues he wants. And to the extent that I said to Randy, because I'm by no means, I'm sandwiched between a paralegal and a retired lawyer, and one of you people can be on the town.
Well, what
Judge,
did
but-
his title work, what did Mr. Donnie's title work say? Did it
don't know.
reference
I don't know what it,
an easement to the north?
do not know.
I would go back to my title agent.
I would too.
When
They
I
have insurance, that's why you have title insurance.
When I asked Randy where I should go with this, I said, I'd like to just forward your correspondence to Dave Donnie and tell him we're not going to vacate it. And Randy said, that's fine with me, and I'll handle any questions that he has. So depending on your perspective, that's what my next course of action would be. So,
Well, from previous instances, I think you know I'm not in favor of vacating right away, so.
To
Especially
me, this is
valuable
a,
right away like that.
Especially to the
I'm sorry,
water.
John, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I said especially valuable right away like that. You know, I mean, it's,
Once we lose it, we'll never get it back.
exactly.
right.
Yeah, I can easily distinguish between this situation and the last occasion when we had an issue arise, because we understood exactly what we were giving up. In this situation, to your point, Mark, we don't know. There could be a point in time in the future when we would want to take advantage of that right of way. So I wouldn't take an action.
I can recall Wisconsin's Towns Association newsletter saying that if you have access to the water, keep it forever.
All right, I would agree. And I'm sure the DNR is gonna say the same thing.
I am fine without us having to take any formal action. I will get back to them and I will forward the documents to them and tell them that we're not inclined to vacate it and take whatever legal course of action you feel appropriate.
Okay.
So, all right. So, next item on our agenda here is the amended ordinance number 01/2019, which, amends, yes, start over, Dan, all right. This is the building permits, inspection fees, and building code. This has to be updated to account for things that have been appearing in campgrounds. And Amy and Brett updated this, and you had a copy, I think, that was all highlighted in red wherever the appropriate changes were.
Yep.
So we just need to approve that ordinance to cover the new additions.
You're not gonna read the whole ordinance to us?
I was going to read it, but I've decided to skip it,
Okay.
if that's okay. You're agreed with that?
Very much so.
All right. In which case, is there any discussion on this before we have a roll call vote to accept the changes?
I was going to pose this question earlier and I forgot. On page 4 of the amended ordinance, page 25 of your packet, chapters SPS 360 out of the Wisconsin Administrative Code. Maybe our clerk knows what the erosion control, sediment control, and stormwater material changes were. Did Brett say anything about that?
Brett just told me to add them into our ordinance. He
Okay.
didn't.
So there's
didn't
probably
put
an
the-
update to the
Absolutely.
code that required that inclusion. Okay.
Everything that's going on with the high water, I'm guessing is really bringing up
Could
some
be.
new stuff.
Seems like the changes mostly, well,
Yours.
principally were definitional changes.
Right. The fact that so many of these campgrounds are putting up like their own little buildings for various names, so, all right. If that is the case, if no one has any other comments or questions,
Oops.
go ahead, there's an oops comment.
Okay, on page 30 of our packet, or page 9 of the ordinance, the, it's there. There was a white,
Was it a bug on
forget
your
it.
screen?
Yeah, it was a giant white space. Disregard, it's there.
Okay,
Okay.
any other oopses?
No, sorry.
Nothing?
Just misspellings, but that's okay.
Okay, so we would have a motion to adopt this ordinance.
I move to adopt and approve ordinance number 01-2019, amendment of the building permits, inspection fees, and building code, as submitted in our packet.
Second.
All right, motion by Linda, second by Mark to accept ordinance number 01-2019, amended building permits, inspection fees, and building code. And this has to be done by roll call. So with that, I will turn it over to our Miss Amy.
Supervisor John Stavenus.
Aye.
Supervisor Jim Nellen.
Aye.
Supervisor Mark Hain.
Aye.
Chairman Dan Wolfle.
Aye.
Supervisor Linda Waite.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Thank you. All right. And while we're in the motion business, the next one is resolution number 03-2019, tourism tax collection designation. And if Mark will forgive me, I'm going to read it. Tourism tax collection designation to the Town Board of Supervisors, whereas the Town Board has by ordinance 2007-02 authorized the collection of tax on overnight lodging within the town of Sevastopol, and whereas said ordinance was approved to become effective May 1st of 2007, likewise authorizing our membership in the Tourism Zone Commission, and whereas the previously allocated dollars have been used for the purchase of property and the building of the town hall, now therefore be it resolved that the overnight lodging tax collected be designated for town infrastructure, park improvements, road maintenance, and town capital improvements. Be it further resolved that those funds so collected, not be used for any other purpose, again, unless redesignated by resolution of the town board, submitted by yours truly. Questions with respect to that?
Do we have to identify the amount that we're putting into this reserve account?
We've already done that through the capital piece,
Okay.
so I think we would be good there. Do you have a question, Linda?
I have a suggestion.
Okay. One less
In
word.
the second whereas,
Okay.
maybe just add likewise authorizing our membership in the Door County Tourism Zone Commission.
I think we could add that without too much difficulty. Correct? I think it's
Absolutely.
almost already done.
Probably.
All right. All right, if there's any other comments, questions, otherwise a motion to approve said resolution.
I move the adoption of resolution number 03-2019TB entitled Tourism Tax Collection Designation.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Jim, seconded by Linda, to adopt resolution 03-2019 Tourism Tax Collection Designation. Any further comments before we vote? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. On to the financial report. And in front of you, you have the account balances through September 30th, the budget versus actual, again, through the month of September, and you have the transaction list by date through September of 2019. And before we approve those, if anyone has any questions, if not, we will see if the treasurer has any comments to make.
Today, we did receive our August room tax revenues, and we are on track to meet and possibly exceed the revenue category. I'll be sending out the proposed budget summary to be published in the Advocate by the end of the month, and our public hearing is scheduled for November 25th at 6 o'clock.
What was the room tax collection for the month of August?
21,000, roughly.
Above or below from prior year, do you know?
I'm not sure.
Okay, just curious. All right, good. Thank you. Financial reports for the month, a motion to approve would be in order.
I'll make a motion to approve the financial reports for September 2019.
Motion by John, second by
Second.
Mark. Any further comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carried. Approval of vouchers, bills, and claims, September 17th through October 21st. I think everybody's had a chance to sign up? Yes? Okay. So a motion would be appropriate there.
I'll move to approve the vouchers, claims, and bills for the period September 17th through October 21st, 2019, as submitted.
I'll second that.
Motion by Linda, second by John, to approve vouchers, bills, and claims September 17th through October 21st. Any further comments, questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, oral committee reports, commission reports, minutes, etc. So let's start with, anyone have any oral committee reports that they'd like to make? Yes? Yes? Oh. Ladies first.
Go ahead.
All right.
Well, I just want to remind everybody that our plan commission, our next meeting is scheduled for Thursday evening, October 31st at 5 p.m.
Okay, is that it, Linda?
That's it.
All right, Jim?
No, I don't.
Oh, Jim has nothing. Mark, how about you? Hearing nothing? All right, well, we'll move on. This could be a easier meeting than some. Next would be the county board report by Linda.
Oh. All right, the next meeting of the Door County Board of Supervisors will be Tuesday, October 29th. That's next Tuesday at 9 a.m. The Door County Public Transit System is holding a public hearing on our transportation on Tuesday, November 19th at 9 a.m. at the Government Center. This is your chance for input on social, economic, and environmental aspects of the Door County public transit system. This is the elderly and disability transportation that the county offers. It's the program for 2020 I believe it's a 2-year program. They had put out an RFP, request for proposals. They did get one response, and that was from Abby Vance, who is our current provider. Let's see, Door County, let's see, the emergency services facility and joint fire department. Some of the county board supervisors are invited to take a trip to Washington Island on Friday. Hopefully the ferries will be running and it won't be so windy, because I heard they were canceled today.
Shut them down today.
This afternoon, right?
Yep.
It's so windy. There's a potential donation of land up on the island that could be used for a fire department and emergency services facility. So, the DNR snowmobile trail, we were granted a maintenance funds for 2019-2020 in the amount of $70,000 to help maintain our 224 miles of snowmobile trails. I had no idea we had that many snowmobile miles.
Was one of them go around the track at the fair park?
A lot.
I don't know.
60 times?
Yeah.
224 miles. Well, there's 40 miles up, 40 miles back is 80, plus in the center, I suppose.
The
Not a
20.
straight line.
Yeah,
No.
the 20, hopefully we'll have some snow. We can use that so many
We're
times.
gonna get snow.
The 2020 county budget should be posted to the website soon. I think our finance department and our county administrator is in the process of finalizing that before our next meeting next week, so that's about it.
Looking at an increase, you think? No. Welcome to the school system. Okay, thank you, Linda.
You're welcome.
Okay, building permits you have in your in your packet. Also, the monthly billing for Door County inspections is in here. We have a tremendous amount of shed activity. Wow, I think I should get in the shed business.
Really?
It's like, build me a shed. Correspondence for the month, we have a piece from Dan Kane, the Emergency Services Manager, talking a little bit about the process, if you have requests from people that needs to come through the town before it goes directly to him, just a process thing, nothing more. Final estimate for our population, 2,743, which I think is pretty close to some additional estimate we've seen earlier, right?
Can I ask a quick?
Sure.
Have you heard anything about the 2020 census, Amy?
No, but isn't there Mr. Hyatt from the Door County. Do you know who I'm talking about?
I have not heard any mention at all, so maybe I should check with him.
I would check with him
Okay.
because he said he was taking over or corresponding somewhat with the powers that be.
I've been getting stuff mailed to the house about mandatory census stuff, and I don't know, but there hasn't been anybody that's, like Arlene did the census last
Right.
time.
You know,
She hasn't heard anything either, so I don't
a
know.
solicitation for,
Yeah.
and it's more than volunteers because you do get paid for it.
Right.
And everybody should know that it's very important that you respond to surveys because funding and districting and everything is helped on those survey responses, so, or census responses.
Also back in your packet, you have a donation was made to the town's EMRs by the Whitefish Bay Property Owners Association, so we thank them for that. And we sent out the appropriate note, so that was great. You have the July room tax listing. That list really grows by 1 month. An application for riprap on Glidden Drive. And municipal aid, the payment is there. And we have shared revenues, we also picked that up in November, 37,000, roughly right. You'll see the sheriff's incident report for the month. We, as Linda said earlier, we have a lot of people in our town, leave it at that. Notice of timber cutting, and also payment on, what was this one? Oh, general transportation aids, $50,784. Notice from the Lobenstein property that it had passed. We knew that before, just telling him that they've amended the zoning ordinance, which is in there. It's a copy of the map. Another one regarding the old Shartners on the Shore, the Weirgan rezoning. And soil and water, this soil and water relates to an application that the Clark Lake Association has made to do some improvements at the Town Line Boat Launch. That's all that is involved in there. They had to get a floodplain permit, they had to get Jacksonport and us both signing off on it, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, and why did I stick this in here? I cannot recall. Did I give you a copy of the DC broadband internet, or is that in my own notes by
I
mistake?
don't see it in the
I think
packet.
that's something I stuck in there by mistake. I have one other thing here which you received hard copy of, and that was the notice from the Pinkert Law Firm that Randy is going to retire first of the year. And he is mentioning here that there are 2 attorneys in their firm that would provide support for municipal law practices. My take on this, and I'm open for discussion, is I would invite these people to come to one of our future meetings to talk to them about their process, et cetera. If we did elect to stay with the Pinkert Law Firm, my personal opinion is I don't want to work with 2 attorneys. I think we should only have to work with one for consistency. So I'd like to get an answer to that question, and then depending on the answers, we can either decide to stay or we can make a selection to try and broaden the search. Anybody have any different feelings with respect?
I think we should invite him to the next meeting,
Yeah.
so we can
Right.
decide before first of the year.
Yeah,
somewhere
no,
close to that.
that's exactly the plan. So could get a little busy at that budget meeting, but I don't think it'll be too bad. It's all good news. So,
I'm not sure that we shouldn't be looking at someone else too who's got a background in municipal law. It's a specialty, and I think that it is. And I haven't met either of the 2 attorneys, but if they don't have, if neither person has a track record of having worked in this area and demonstrated competence in it, I'm not sure we want to purchase that fund that learning curve. I think that we ought to look. I think we owe it to ourselves, I think, to look at least one other person who is does work in the area, well-regarded, just to compare and contrast.
Okay. Does
And
any,
perhaps references too, if, are other municipalities contemplating their use and, like I said, references on those two attorneys' background?
Anybody have the name of any particular person that we know that has the, I think the one thing we always faced is that they've been out of Green Bay or farther, which always causes a little heartburn when you try and meet with them, or they come up here to service us, I don't know. Who does,
The town of Egg Harbor uses a Green Bay attorney.
And
Who
the
does
city
the-
of Green Bay uses Davis Coulthurst, also down in Green Bay. I don't know the person.
the town of, who, I'm sorry?
The city of Sturgeon.
Oh, City of Sturgeon Bay, I'm sorry, okay.
And the Door County Tourism Zone Commission also, I believe, uses the same attorney as the town of Egg Harbor. I
Oh,
think.
okay. Well, okay.
So you can get a reference from them too, because they should know municipal law.
That's Bill Vandecastle.
Ah, there's a name, okay.
Let me get a couple of names and send.
Okay. All right, I'll work on that. We'll see what we can come up with. All right. We're down to announcements. The Turkey Trot, November 2nd at 9:30 at the Sevastopol Town Park. The Budget Special Board Meeting of Supervisors is November 25th at 6 p.m. at the Town Hall. And the annual Christmas party, sponsored by Linda and Amy, December 6th, 5 to 7:30 here at the Sevastopol Town Hall. And agendas for next meeting, we will have the attorneys as one. Anything else that comes to mind other than updates as usual? All right. And then we come to the best part of the meeting from John's perspective.
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
second?
Motion by John, second by Mark. I think it's appropriate that we deny this motion. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. We are adjourned. Thank you.